Have you ever had a moment where you said something in the heat of the moment or acted impulsively, only to regret it later? It's a common experience. We replay the situation in our minds, wishing we could go back in time and undo it. But the reality is, no matter how much we dwell on the past, we cannot change it. And yet, many of us spend an overwhelming amount of time stuck in this cycle of regret. Studies show that nearly 75% of people admit to frequently ruminating over past mistakes or fearing the future. It's almost as if our own minds betray us. The same mind that pushed us to act or speak impulsively suddenly turns against us, asking, "Why did you do that? Why did you say that? You shouldn't have done that." If this resonates with you, know that you are not alone. Regret is a universal experience. In fact, even during the time of the Buddha, this was a deeply significant issue that affected countless individuals. The Buddha himself understood this profound human struggle and provided us with practical wisdom on how to overcome it. In today's video, we will explore the concept of self-reflection from a Buddhist perspective. We will discuss why mindfulness and awareness of our actions are key to reducing regret, how confession and acceptance of past mistakes help free the mind, and why the path to peace starts with self-awareness. Why we regret the past. Before diving into the Buddha's teachings, let's take a moment to understand why we feel regret. What is it about past mistakes that make them so difficult to let go of? Psychologists say that regret is closely linked to the concept of cognitive dissonance, when our actions do not align with our values or expectations of ourselves. This internal conflict creates discomfort and distress. In simpler terms, when we act in a way that contradicts our beliefs, we feel a sense of unease, leading to regret. For example, imagine you lost your temper and said something hurtful to a loved one. At the moment, you may have felt justified, but later, when your emotions settle, you realize that your words do not reflect the person you want to be. This inner conflict fuels regret, making it difficult to move on. The Buddha recognized this struggle and offered a solution. He taught that the key to avoiding regret is to be mindful before we act, to pause, reflect, and question whether our actions align with our values, and whether they will lead to suffering for ourselves or others. One of the most profound teachings on self-reflection comes from the Buddha's conversation with his own son, Rahula. Before becoming the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama was a prince, and he had a son named Rahula. Later, Rahula became a monk, and the Buddha imparted valuable lessons to him about self-awareness. One day, the Buddha asked Rahula, "What is the purpose of a mirror?" Rahula replied, "A mirror is used to see one's reflection." The Buddha then said, "In the same way, before you act, before you speak, and even before you think, reflect on yourself. Just as a mirror helps you see your outer appearance, self-reflection helps you see your inner self." The Buddha then instructed Rahula to ask himself 3 important questions before engaging in any action. Will this action bring suffering to me? Will this action bring suffering to others? Am I doing this action with an unwholesome mind? If the answer to any of these questions is yes, the Buddha advised Rahula to refrain from that action. The reason? Actions born from unwholesome thoughts, anger, greed, hatred, lead to suffering, just as a cartwheel follows the ox that pulls it. But if Rahula found that his actions were motivated by kindness, wisdom, and compassion, actions that lead to peace and happiness, then he should go ahead and do them without hesitation. This simple yet profound practice is a guide for all of us. If we take even a few moments before acting to ask ourselves these 3 questions, we can significantly reduce the chances of future regret. Mindfulness, or sati, is one of the most powerful tools in Buddhism for self-awareness. But many people misunderstand mindfulness. They think it's about sitting in meditation with their eyes closed, breathing deeply. While meditation is a part of it, mindfulness is about being present and fully aware of what we are doing in each moment. For example, if you are eating, be mindful of the taste, texture, and aroma of your food. If you are speaking, be mindful of your words. Are they kind, truthful, and necessary? If you are acting, be mindful of your intentions. Are they rooted in wisdom and compassion? The reason why so many of us end up regretting our actions is because we act mindlessly. We speak without thinking, we react impulsively, and we make decisions without considering the consequences. The Buddha's teaching is clear. If you want to avoid regret, be mindful of your actions before they happen. How to cultivate mindfulness in everyday life. Mindfulness is not something that happens overnight. It requires practice and discipline. Here are a few simple ways to incorporate mindfulness into your daily routine. Start your day with intention. Before getting out of bed, set an intention for the day. It could be as simple as, "Today I will be mindful of my words," or "Today I will act with kindness." Pause before reacting. The next time someone upsets you, take a deep breath before responding. Ask yourself, will my reaction bring peace or suffering? Daily reflection. Before going to bed, spend a few minutes reflecting on your day. Did you act in alignment with your values? What could you improve? Mindful speech practice, speaking with awareness. Avoid gossip, harsh words, or speech that causes harm. By implementing these simple practices, you can train your mind to be more self-aware, leading to fewer regrets. Confession and acceptance. Letting go of past mistakes. Despite our best efforts, we are human. We will make mistakes. That's inevitable. So, what happens when we do something we regret? The Buddha provided an answer. Do not hide your mistakes. Instead, acknowledge them, confess them, and learn from them. The power of confession in Buddhism. In many Buddhist traditions, monks practice uposatha, a day of confession and renewal. On this day, monks come together and openly confess any mistakes they have made. This practice is not meant to punish them. It is meant to purify the mind and prevent future mistakes. Why is confession so powerful? Because when we hide our mistakes, we carry the burden of guilt. The more we suppress it, the heavier it becomes. But when we openly acknowledge our mistakes, we release that burden. How to practice self-forgiveness. If you are struggling with past mistakes, here are a few steps to help you move forward. Acknowledge the mistake. Instead of denying or avoiding it, accept what happened. Acknowledge your role in it. Express it. Talk to someone you trust, write in a journal, or simply meditate on it. Learn from it. Every mistake carries a lesson. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this experience? Make amends. If your mistake hurt someone, take action to make it right. Let go. Understand that the past cannot be changed, but the present is in your hands. The Buddha's teachings on self-reflection, mindfulness, and confession are timeless. They remind us that while we cannot change the past, we have the power to shape our future through awareness and wisdom. By practicing mindfulness, reflecting before we act, and embracing confession, we can free ourselves from the cycle of regret and cultivate a life of peace and happiness. If you found value in this teaching, be sure to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more Buddhist wisdom. Until next time, namaste.